Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Austin, Texas and Circuit of the Americas, a debut racetrack here on Verdane TV for the Fatheads Cup Series. Tonight, it is the Texas Twister 100, the first road course race of the season for the Fatheads Cup Series. 3 races remaining in the regular season before the playoffs. So what better time to throw the first road course race in than now, Paul? This is going to be very exciting to watch. I know a new racetrack for us, a completely new venture for these drivers as well. 30 laps the distance, should be a very entertaining race tonight. How are you doing tonight, Paul?
I am doing fantastic here tonight, Kyle. Man, it has been a exciting week here at Verdane TV. Lots of firsts here. Last night we saw the very first Bristol Dirt Race with the TCM Special Events Series. We saw the very first Super Late Model with the brand new debuting Super Late Model race at Martinsville with the Eastbound Esports bunch. And here we go tonight, very first race here on Verdane TV for Circuit of the Americas. Very, very excited here for the Texas Twister 100, and it's great to see these Fathead Cup Series drivers lining up on track here on a Wednesday night. Pretty much the midweek staple here at Verdane TV. These guys have been doing a great job over the past couple of weeks running these the Cup cars here, and it's we're starting to learn the drivers, starting to learn the teams, all the personalities, and it's been pretty cool. Great points battle up towards the front, and I'm excited. 3.5 mile road course. We're turning left. We're turning right. We're probably going to spin out a couple of times, get some dirt on track, off track, and well, you and I have to do a little bit of studying because coming up here on March 22nd, you and I are going to be sharing a BMW, and we're going to be running at Daytona Road Course for the NEP Series drivers. So a good opportunity, a little bit of a different car, but a good opportunity to kind of try and pick up on some of the road racing antics, as everybody knows that everybody out there that knows me in the sim racing world knows that I can't even turn left, and we're going to be getting ready to turn right. So looking forward to that, but really looking forward to the race here this evening.
Yeah, this should be a very entertaining race to watch. We all know that the real-world NASCAR world will be at this racetrack towards the end of May, and while that's still about 2.5 months away, it's kind of nice to see a glimpse of that now here tonight with the Fatheads Cup Series and kind of get used to the idea of watching NASCAR race cars go around this track with that. Formula One has raced at the V8 Supercars that usually race in Australia. They have raced here down in Austin, Texas, so one of the most exciting things about this upcoming NASCAR season is this combination, is this venue to this racetrack, or is this visit to this racetrack in the series. So it should be an entertaining night, to say the least. I did see some drivers struggle just a little bit throughout qualifying. I've seen a lot of spins and such. So the one thing that this racetrack is it's very tricky. I have quite a bit of road racing experience here on iRacing, and this is probably one of, if not the most difficult road courses for me to get around. Not trying to toot my own horn saying that I'm anything good, but it's a tough place to get around. So to try to throw these drivers into doing it in a NASCAR Cup Series car, I can only imagine what the struggles are going to be like tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to give a shout to everybody over there watching in Facebook land and YouTube land. If you got us up on the big screen, give us a picture to join the conversation. Hashtag Verdane TV. Post it up on the Twitter, on the Facebook, all that good stuff. Join the conversation using hashtag Verdane TV. And everybody hanging out in the Facebook chat. We actually got a couple of drivers hanging out. Tim Wortman Jr., Pete Woodrum over there. Caleb Levener said he's having some internet problems tonight, so it ruined his racing plans. It's a tough break for Caleb. But man, it looks like the pace car is going to tip off. We're not getting a full lap around here under the pace lap. We're just going to kind of get ready to go green. There you can see Preston Perrier in the number 13 on the inside, well, on the pole anyway, and the number 3 of Kenny Capola starting second, and waiting for the green flag to drop here, Kyle.
And there it is. We are underway with the Texas Twister 100, and they are not wasting any time. We are 3 wide right off the bat. Alonzo King, the 4th place starter, he gets off to a massive start. Going to try to go side by side for the lead, but the outside line not going to work in this very, very tight hairpin turn in turn number 1. Preston Perrier, your pole sitter, will take the race lead. Some contact between Alonzo King and Kenny Capola going through that turn, but everybody sorts it out, and they will now run their way through the S's for the first time. A very tricky, very long S section here as the cars snake through these first few turns, trying to get themselves into line and getting themselves prepared for this short little stretch into another tight hairpin before they really start to stretch their legs on the very long back straightaway.
This is one of those racetracks, Kyle, where you really need to be racing the racetrack and kind of you don't want to ignore the other drivers and what they're doing, but that's really the best way to do it. You need to make sure that your car is in tune with the track, and there you can see a tight left-hand turn there, and Preston Superior does a great job, as does the 3, and everybody pretty much single file. You got to get the car slowed way, way down, and as we know here with these Cup cars, they aren't technically built for road racing, but as the NASCAR Cup Series kind of evolves here, as it is the current year, 2021, there's at least half a dozen different road courses on the actual NASCAR Cup Series schedule, and you see a lot of drivers are able to pick up. As you can see, the 13 Superior kind of overshoots that turn just a little bit, but doesn't look like it slows him down too much. Still has a pretty substantial lead over Kenny Capola there in the number 3. But as NASCAR kind of evolves, we add a little bit more road racing, and it brings in a whole new aspect of racing, especially here with the iRacing group.
It really does, and to do so on racetracks that the series has never even raced on before also brings in some uniqueness to it. You know, you have your good drivers that are good on the road courses, but nobody really knows how good they are going to be on this racetrack. So minus the few guys that were able to be a part of the Goodyear tire test back during the middle of the week last week here at Circuit of the Americas, really everybody's going to be coming in with a pretty fresh, clean slate and just trying to mainly learn the course and do everything that they can to be as competitive as possible. They do have the benefit of practice. They're not going to be doing that, the no practice ordeal, since this is a brand new venue to the series, but it's definitely going to be a massive challenge for them, to say the least, but it should be a fun challenge to watch nonetheless.
Absolutely, and just taking a look through the field here, pretty much single file throughout the field. I'm just going to, leader Preston Superior gets off track. He's actually stuck in the wall, and he's going to lose a lot of time here because he's not going to be able to get that car out of there. He is actually going to have to call for the tow truck and get parked on pit road. So new leader, that moves the number 3 of Kenny Capola into the lead position. That is a huge break for the 3-car, tough break for the number 13.
Yeah, not at all good for Preston Superior. Started on the pole, led the opening circuit, and makes a small mistake, gets himself caught up in one of the guardrails, and unfortunately has to tow. And that's the thing here with road course racing, Paul, is that one small mistake can change your race entirely. Like you said, you got to race this racetrack more so than you really have to do your competition, because it'll bite you. It'll hurt you in the most vicious ways, and Preston Superior just saw that. Fortunately for him, as we get down towards the end of this regular season, he's already locked into the playoffs. He knows he's going to be racing for a championship here in about a month or so. But things looking very good for him at the start. Now not going to be such the case. So could be a potential opportunity missed for some more playoff points, but it has created a pretty nice little battle going on here for the race lead. Kenny Capola is now your race leader in that 3 machine after a very strong week last week at Dover International Speedway, trying to back that up here tonight and get himself blocked into the playoffs. Right behind him is the 00 machine of Tim Wortman Jr. He's got a couple wins on the season, so he knows he's going to be racing in the playoffs as well, so he's just looking to add some more playoff points before those get underway.
And that's really going to change the different driving styles between some of the drivers. Some guys are really going to be trying to get maximum points here. Points racing themselves. You know, they may or may not be very good at the road racing events. As we can see, we're coming up on Chris Spear. Looks like he might have missed the initial start in the race. There you see him in the number 7 car getting ready to go a lap down. And you can see coming out of that wide turn, it's really, really tough to get these cars to turn coming into the corners, and we're getting ready to work lap number 3 as we start going uphill here, chasing the 3 and the 00 up front. We told the camera crew to just kind of follow along with the most exciting battles that you see on track, and they're telling us that it's going to be the 2-car battle up here for the front. Kenny Capola inheriting the lead about a lap ago when we saw the 13 of Preston Superior go off track. Quick check in on him. He is currently running in the 19th position. Great shot of the S's there. Running in the 19th position, 1 lap down. So I don't believe we're going to have any full course cautions here. Going to be a real tough road to hoe for the number 13 machine. I don't believe he's going to be able to get that lap back if there was any kind of lucky dog or free pass. But we'll see. We'll never know what's going to happen here with the FATHEADZ Cup Series.
And hopefully that was a lesson that was learned by the 3 machine at Kenny Capola too, to make sure that he's careful and doesn't make a similar mistake to what Preston did. Now, we made mention of it a lot last week. The 3 machine, he has no choice. He has to go to victory lane. He comes into this race tonight back in position number 24 in the point standings. He's missed 4 races thus far, and there's no way that he's going to point his way into the championship playoffs for this series. He has to get a victory, and so far he's showing that this could potentially be an opportunity to do that here tonight. He ran very well last week at the Dover International Speedway. Wasn't able to pull off the victory. I believe he had a fairly decent run going at Darlington Raceway before he ran into some issues a few weeks ago. And on this third lap of the race, he came across the start-finish line with just a 1-second advantage. Looking at him now, he's got his lead almost up to 3 seconds during this run through this lap. So initially showing some faster pace on the 00 of Tim Wortman Jr., but still a very long way to go in this race. So keep your eyes on that number 3 machine up at the front of the field. Could potentially be a factor in the championship playoff picture if he's able to keep this run going and go to victory lane. One of the drivers that's struggling so far, that you just saw there on the screen, one of the drivers on the outside looking in, not by much. He came into tonight's race just 6 points outside of the playoff cutoff line. That's that 23 machine at David Douthwaite. He's got a lot of sheet metal damage torn up on that number 23 Columbia Sportswear Toyota.
Yeah, looking like a Tour Modified almost with that thing wrecked wide open. Take a look at that 24 Liberty machine there of Wade Palmer V. That's a good-looking paint scheme there. It might just be, I know you and I are both Jeff Gordon fans, and I know Jeff Gordon never really ran that paint scheme. Maybe it's just a number, but always cool paint schemes coming out of the 24 camp. And there you can see his Hendrick Motorsports teammate right in front of him running an old a nationwide Dale Earnhardt Jr. paint scheme, but with the Fatheads Eyewear logo on it. We want to remind you, check out fatheads.com, Fatheads with a Z. Use that promo code SHOWTIME. That's after me. That's my nickname, Showtime, Paul Strickland Jr. Use that promo code SHOWTIME. Get yourself 40% off of some of the best racing-related eyewear that you can get, and it's some pretty good-looking stuff on there. I'm actually getting ready to order myself a pair of the transparent, or translucent, rather, framed glasses, because I wear my regular sunglasses today, and it was actually the first day it got to be above 60 degrees, and I've already got the raccoon marks, the raccoon suntan, where my sunglasses were, so I'm definitely going to be picking up. There you can see, trouble in the Mustang. That's going to be the number 10 car of James Kerr getting off track. He's going to try and gather it back up, but already got the suntan lines on the face, so I'm going to be switching over to some Fatheads eyewear here shortly, picking up some of those translucent flames.
Oh, and some more trouble for the 88 machine of Ed Boyles Jr. He goes for a spin. I saw him spin on the opening lap, so that's the second time that Fatheads car has spun himself around. Doesn't hit anything, struggling to get that thing pointed in the right direction, but he will finally be able to do so. Looks like he is going to drop back to position number 12. He was running in 6th place at the time, and based off of where he has rejoined the racetrack, it looks like he's going to fall in line in 12th position. So not all that great for him. He was racing right in between his teammates, Michael Miller and Wade Palmer V, who Wade Palmer, Paul, you had made mention of him just a little while ago in that 24 machine. He punched his ticket to the playoffs last week with his first win of the season at the Dover International Speedway. Very happy for himself, happy for his Hendrick Motorsports team, who we've seen them run very well over the last month or so here in this Fatheads Cup Series. Just haven't been able to pull off the finishes that they probably deserved until last week when they finally got to victory lane. And they actually went 1-2 with their Hendrick team after Tim Wortman Jr. kind of threw it all on the line there in the last lap and crashed coming off a turn number 4. It gave that team an opportunity to do a 1-2 finish.
Yeah, one of the things seeing the 88 of Ed Boyles Jr. get off track there about a half a lap or so ago, really tough here with the grass all the way around the track. It is good because it kind of slows the car down a bit so you don't get a massive impact on either of the walls here, as we see a little bit of a battle here for 9th. The number 15 is battle for 10th, rather. Ryan Kling getting around the number 14 of Derek Cook for that top 10 position. Alonzo King currently running in the 3rd position there in the 47 car. But when you get off track, it's kind of tough because the grass is kind of slanted a little bit, and it's really tough to get the car to kind of grip and get back on the track. So it's a lot of grass, a lot of dirt, and the hills kind of getting up towards the track don't help much either.
And another thing that these drivers are going to have to deal with tonight, too, is something that we saw a lot on Sunday night with our Sim Racers Unleashed race at Martinsville Speedway, is getting the throttle down too early, coming off of some of these turns, lighting up those rears and spinning yourself out. A lot of these hairpin turns, very, very slow turns. I just saw Ryan Kling there. He got down to about 30 miles an hour going into that turn one hairpin up there at the top of the hill. So it's very easy to put the power down a little bit too early, a little too soon and too aggressively, and get those rears lit up and sliding and spinning around. And maybe that's even some of the reason why we've seen some of the spins that we've seen thus far here tonight, is managing all that horsepower underneath of these machines and trying to make sure that you don't make the mistakes. So definitely a driver's track. There's no other way around it. This is a very challenging race course. And if you're going to victory lane tonight, you definitely have done something special.
For sure, and just like any other racetrack, especially with a road racing track, it's definitely a special type of driver that takes to kind of learn and memorize the track and know where the shift points are and the braking points and the acceleration points. All that different stuff that kind of factors into road racing here. As we take a look, here we go, the number 47 Alonzo King holding on to that third position. You can see Matt Mackin trying to close under the back bumper there in the Napa number 9 Hendrick Motorsports entry, but still about 4 or 5 car lengths back. We kind of switch back to there you can see the number 10 of James Kerr getting passed by the 13 of Preston Perrier. Those drivers actually back on the lead lap, it looks like. So that's good news there. It looks like the 7 of Chris Spear and Ken Eller in the number 95, the only drivers currently at least a lap down at this point. But man, it takes a lot to run these road courses. There's a lot of 3.5 miles of racetrack to kind of memorize, and you don't really have any kind of co-driver or anything like that. Some of these drivers do have spotters that kind of work with them, kind of let them know, what kind of turns are coming up, things like that. But most of these drivers running solo, kind of crew chief, spotter, driver, all wrapped into one, and it's tough. These road races definitely take a lot out of these drivers.
Especially without having any caution periods, too. A lot of races that are run on road courses, you don't see full course cautions just because the track, especially tonight, the tracks are just too big to put a pace car out there, and you waste too much time under yellow and lose too many laps and too many opportunities to actually race. So they just run local yellows. And at a place like this that's so big, you're definitely not going to want to run full course cautions. And it doesn't give these drivers an opportunity to take a breather, kind of relax and get their mind straight. You're racing 100% of the time. Yeah, you got a couple straightaways that allow you to stretch the legs a little bit, maybe move around and kind of grab a quick thought or two. But for the most part, you're racing all the time. And that can be very difficult on the mind when you don't have an opportunity to kind of relax and assess the situation, especially if you're in a battle. Like we see right here with the 23 machine of David Douthwaite. He's trying to work on the 24 of Wade Palmer the 5th. He's got Joshua Nolan in the 96 right behind him. These three cars fairly close to each other, not putting too much pressure on one another, but close enough to try to see what they can do to make some positions up and do what they can. Doesn't appear that David Douthwaite is really struggling too much with all that front end damage. He made a bit of a mistake there. That left-hander kind of lost some time to Joshua Nolan. But for the most part, that car seems to be fairly well underpowered despite all the damage on the front end of that thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we definitely want to keep, you can bet he's keeping an eye on the temperature of that thing, because there may very well be some radiator damage on that number 23. But like I said, it doesn't seem like it's slowing him down too much. The car seems to be handling pretty well. A couple of off-track incidents there, but nothing too crazy. And one of the things we haven't made mention yet, without having any kind of cautions here tonight, when are we going to have the trash talk from the drivers in the Facebook chat? We had that all season long so far. A couple of drivers chiming in the Facebook chat before the start of the race here, and Caleb Levener hanging out, not able to make the race because of some internet connection issues here this evening, but definitely watching here on Verdane TV and kind of giving his own little bit of commentary in the chats, and big fan of the Bass Pro Shop, maybe the inner fisherman and him, and man, I'm actually getting excited. Fishing season's coming up here in about a month's time, so might not be able to go to the bar, but at least we're going to be able to go fishing here soon.
I am a little disappointed not to see Caleb out there as a Ryan Blaney fan. It's always nice to see that Team Penske number 12 on the track. But fortunately for Caleb, he doesn't have too many things to worry about by not being out here tonight. He won 2 of the last 3 races, locked himself into the playoffs, and he actually came into tonight's race with an 8-point lead in the overall point standings. He's obviously going to lose that, and that's going to go back to Tim Wortman Jr. But still a lot to be very excited about with that 12 camp of Caleb Levener getting some wins and making himself a prominent factor in the championship once we get the playoffs started, which those are going to happen. I keep saying in about a month. I know we got a week off next week. We'll have 2 more races to go. The playoffs, they kick off on Wednesday, April 7th at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. So that should be a very fun race, a short track that NASCAR currently doesn't race at. They're trying to get their way back to that speedway, hopefully within the next couple of years. But yes, April 7th, so less than a month away from the playoffs kicking off here in the Fatheads Cup Series. Like we said, 3 races left, including tonight's event. After tonight, as mentioned, we'll have a week off. Next week on the 17th, we'll go to Charlotte Motor Speedway for a 150-lapper on March 24th, and then the regular season will conclude at my home NASCAR track at Watkins Glen International, and then we'll have our 16-driver playoff field set for the final 10 races of this season.
Just taking a look at Kenny Capola up front in that Bass Pro Shop number 3. Has a 4.6-second lead over the 00 of Tim Wortman Jr. and really doing a great job. A little bit of damage, damage kind of all the way around that race car, but that's to be expected. A lot of these drivers not necessarily road racing experts by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of these guys, some of the drivers kind of excel at short tracks, some excel at the 1.5 miles or the intermediate cookie cutters, and we've got some super speedway ringers in there as well. But Kenny Capola doing a great job kind of holding off the field. And like you said, Kyle, he's one of the drivers that doesn't necessarily have a win just yet. So looking to kind of use this unique racetrack, one of the road courses here on the schedule, to try and lock himself into that championship playoff. And we're very excited here at Verdane TV to carry the Fatheads Cup Series all the way to that championship night, as you made mention, at Watkins Glen. And speaking of championships, Johnny Two Belts, John Peters, and the NEPS League, they're going to be racing here with us tomorrow night, championship night for the NEPS League. Very excited to have that. John Peters pretty much locked in the championship last week by showing up to the track. Ryan Libby having a uncharacteristic off night last week as it were, but getting ready for the Shift Marketing 100 at Dover, and it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a really good race, and we're going to see if John Peters is going to come out and maybe win the race to just kind of sugarcoat the championship just a little bit. But pretty cool little tribute to John's father, who's been having some health issues over the past couple of months. Had a lot of the paint schemes that Greg Peters, or Grand National Greg, as he's been known up in the Maine area, the state of Maine, done a lot of racing, and the late models, the Yak late models, the Busch Grand National Series, as it were. So it was cool to see some of the old school real-life paint schemes come back for the 09, and all of the Team Maine drivers, 5 or 6 of them, running special paint schemes as a tribute to Grand National Greg there. And man, I'm excited. That's going to be a good race tomorrow night at Dover, crowning John Peters as the champion. Johnny Two Belts. Pretty cool to see that we kind of picked up a nickname and ran with it here at Verdane TV. And I get a text message from John Peters a few weeks ago. He's like, you know what? Even my aunt and my mom call me Johnny Two Belts now. So very excited to see the family aspect. And we hope that you come out and watch us here tomorrow night as well for the Verdane TV championship race here for the NEPS Grand National Series, brought to you by Shift Marketing and Design. But still 20 laps to go, working lap number 10 here. Kenny Capola out front in that number 3 Richard Childress car. Bass Pro Shops on the hood, Tracker Boats on the quarter panel. Nope, just kidding, Tracker Off-Road. And you can see just a little bit of off-road action there, but not too much. But doing a great job. Really extending that lead. He's up to 6.5 seconds now over that second spot. Tim Wortman Jr. and the double I. He's holding tough in that second position. There you can see him, and he's got about 15 seconds on the third place car of Alonzo King. So that actually looks like it's the closest battle there. Matt Mackin in the number 9 still trying to get up to the back bumper of the 47, but that appears to be the closest battle on track right now, Kyle.
Yeah, and this so far is shaping up to be a very good night for Alonzo King. He is another one of those drivers that was very close to the cut line when we're talking about the playoff picture. Got himself inside the good graces of the playoff grid and enters tonight 14th place in the points. But David Douthwaite, who is the first car on the outside, he is only 10 points behind Alonso coming into this race. So Alonso running in position number 3 right now. Great opportunity for him to add some more points and try to secure a playoff position here in these final few weeks of the regular season. We've only had 5 winners lock themselves in up to this point, so we're going to be taking a bunch of cars on points. So I wouldn't think that the majority of the drivers that are coming into the playoffs on points really feel like they're at much of a disadvantage, Paul. Things are going to get reset. We do have playoff points, so things are going to get changed and lined up in many different ways. It truly is a fresh start. A guy like Alonzo King, who currently is 186 points behind Caleb Levener when you're talking about the overall combined point standings. Once this playoff starts, it gives him a completely fresh start, new life, so to say, to be a contender, to be a challenger in this series, and have a threat to win this championship.
Absolutely. Just kind of take a look mid-pack right now. There you can see Joshua Nolan in number 96. Whoa, the 10-car struggling again. James Kerr spins around in the Farmer John Mustang number 10 car. He gets it righted. There you can see Preston Puryear real quick. We'll check in with him. There you can see Alonzo King still holding on to that third position. Put a little bit of a gap between he and Matt Mackin. There's Wade Palmer the fifth. Just kind of sifting through the field here to see some of the action. Matt Mackin actually having a good half a lap here, closing right up into the back bumper almost of Alonzo King. Kind of turning the afterburners on. I think this is the closest we've seen that 9 car to the back bumper of the 47.
I believe you're right, Paul, doing a good job of putting some pressure on Alonzo King's number 47, trying to challenge for a podium position here in the first third of this race, currently starting to work through lap number 10 at the moment. And now we'll check on one of his teammates back in the 24 machine, last week's winner at the Dover International Speedway. That's Wade Palmer the fifth. He's trying to hang on over the beaten and battered number 23 at David Douthwaite, who, as we just mentioned a few minutes ago, trying to secure a playoff spot from the outside, comes in 17th in the point standings. Despite that damage that he picked up very early on in this race, still looking very good. He hasn't really made any mistakes since then, sticking tough with the competition around him inside this top 10 and doing the best that he can to make use of what is left of his race car, and has been hanging out there in position number 7 for quite a little bit. Back up here with Tim Wortman Jr., 7.3 seconds behind race leader Kenny Capola. Capola did make a mistake a couple laps ago and lost about half of his lead, but since then, Capola has been very strong and has been extending the lead. You can see there the 5 machine, Wade Palmer the fourth, has a big off. He's just going to let Wortman go on by and try to live on to fight another day. And actually, that's something that Chris Spear was interested in seeing, because Spear is not too far behind him in that number 7 machine. And while these two cars are off the lead lap, this does create a battle for position number 16.
Yeah, a couple of quick off tracks there for the 00 of Tim Wortman Jr. There you can see Chris Spear moving on around. Wade Palmer the fourth says, you know what, you're a little bit quicker, go on ahead. And Chris Spear's going to hammer back down on that throttle and try and get up to the leaders, and maybe see if he can get around and try and get that lap back the hard way. As we can see, just blistering pace here for the number 3 of Kenny Capola, looking at a 10-second lead now over the 00 of Tim Wortman after the couple of off-track incidences there. 15 cars on the lead lap, the last one being the number 22 of Colin Zemer, and he's running in that 15th position. There you can see Matt Mackin still trying to close in the back bumper of Alonzo King, and the 48 running in the 5th position. Haven't really talked about him too much all night long here. Michael Miller in the 48 Jimmy Johnson, or the 48 Bowman machine, and pretty cool best friends paint scheme. He's actually going to come down pit road here on lap 11, so already working a little bit of strategy. We can see Kenny Capola is down on pit road as well. Tim Wortman Jr. and Matt Mackin, they're going to come down, looks like 4 tires for the 3, 4 tires for the 00. The 9 car is going to come down to his stop, and we'll see how long his pit strategy is going to be. So this is going to shake things up a bit. It's going to hand the lead over to Alonzo King in the 47.
Yeah, that it will. A little bit of strategy going on as we complete the first third of tonight's Texas Twister 100. And King deciding to stay out on the track. This could give him an opportunity to lead a lap. And the way that this series works, they do have bonus points included. And leading a lap is a bonus point. And instead of counting those as bonus points, that is what they use as playoff points. We don't do stages here in the Fatheads Cup Series. So any bonus points that you collect count as playoff points. So if you lead a lap, that is a bonus point. That's a playoff point. Victories are 5 bonus points, 5 playoff points. So this could be an opportunity here for Alonzo King to put another playoff point in his bucket, which as he currently sits, he has 4 playoff points here at this point in the season. So looking to try to build up on some of those as well. Kenny Capola is not too far behind him, Paul. I think if Alonso's going to lead this lap, he needs to stay out on the track. I don't think he can duck down on the pit road, make his pit stop this lap, and still lead. And even still, Capola is quite a bit faster than what Alonso is. So I'm sure that 4-second gap is going to close as this lap continues on here. So if Alonso is thinking about leading a lap, he's going to have to stay out another one because I just don't see it being possible to be able to do that while coming down on the pit road.
Yeah, that's one of the most dangerous things for the rest of the field, who's given 4 fresh tires to that number 3 car, because he's very, very quick, and we can see he's already closed in a second and a half. We're down to a 2.5 second lead here for Alonzo King over Kenny Capola. He's got those new tires. He is coming in a hurry. So, like you said, Kyle, there you can see the action just closing right under the back bumper. He may not even be able to lead this lap if the time goes through, and we'll take a quick look and see where they are in relation to the start-finish line. But crazy to see just how much quicker that Kenny Capola machine is. It gets right up to the back bumper of the 47. So 47 says, yep, you're right, go ahead on by. And, well, that was the start-finish line coming up right here. So Alonso doesn't even get to lead that lap, I don't believe.
He does not. Kenny Capola will
double check that microphone there, but there you can see Kenny Capola stole those points right away from Alonzo King. No bonus points for you, no championship points for you. You're going to have to try and get them somewhere else. So Alonzo King going to go back to the drawing board a little bit. He's got some time between he and the drivers behind him, but there's not really any sense in waiting too much longer for these drivers to come down pit road, as we aren't going to get any full course cautions here. But it is one of those deals. We did pit after 10 laps. Maybe he's going to try and go 15 and 15, kind of split it right down the middle and get kind of even out the race times, or the lap times, rather, between the first couple laps on tires and the second half.
Yeah, and with the way that this race is going, why not try something strategy-wise to see if you can maybe do something better than a top 3 finish here. The pace definitely is on the 3 side, way faster than what the 47 machine is. So maybe a little pit strategy can try to bump him up the leaderboard to maybe a second if he's able to find a way to get around Tim Wortman Jr., or perhaps have a better opportunity to challenge for the race win. I would assume that these guys that made these pit stops are looking at a 2-stop strategy, pitting on lap 10 and potentially lap number 20, but we'll see how that progresses here throughout the remainder of this event. All that we know for now is that Capola is out in front on fresh rubber. 7-second lead now over Alonzo King in position number 2. Tim Wortman Jr. is running in 3rd place at the moment, who is closing in on Alonzo King, being on fresher rubber himself, working around the back portion of this racetrack and just continues to chomp out of that gap. So it shouldn't be too long before the 00 takes over position number 2 and puts Alonzo King back into 3rd. And then I guess the real fun thing will be to watch is when Alonzo King decides to make his pit stop. And, well, it looks like he's actually going to do that right now, the 47, and he does. So he will make his pit stop here on lap number 12, nearly pushes off the pit access road and almost into that barrier there. He's able to recover and makes his pit stop now. So it'll be fun to see where he comes out in relation to Matt Mack. And those 2 drivers were very close to each other right before this green flag pit stop cycle started to happen.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those things where Matt Mackett has already come down pit road. It looks like he came down about a lap, maybe 2 laps ago. He's going to be a little bit quicker this time and last time by than Alonso King, but as the tires kind of wear off on the second run, it might give the advantage back over to the 47 of Alonso King. Same deal for the number 96 of Joshua Nolan. Mentioned him a couple of times tonight, but not too crazy much. He has not come down pit road yet, so he might be trying to kind of hold off to the halfway point as well. Back in a little bit further in the field there, you can see the number 14 Mustang there. He's actually going to come down pit road now. Derek Cook going to come down and get some service to that machine. The only other couple of drivers I'm seeing, Ian Yeager and the number 27. He has not come down pit road. Neither has the 22 of Colin Zemer. Looks like some big nose damage on the front of that machine. But everybody else has come down pit road. I believe they can make it on the one pit stop here at Circuit of the Americas here in Texas. And back to status quo up front. Looks like Kenny Coppola leading by 8.9 seconds over Tim Wortman Jr. in that 00 machine, and he's got a massive lead over the third place driver of Matt Mack. And there you see him in the number 9 car, and Joshua Nolan hasn't pitted yet, but right now currently running in that 4th position and has a bit of a gap back to Ed Boyles Jr. there in the 88 Fatheads eyewear machine in that 5th position. Michael Miller running 6th. Alonso King, after pit stops, currently running 7th. Wade Palmer the 5th. David Dothwaite and Preston Perrier currently running out the top 10.
I was kind of watching Ed Boyles Jr. and Michael Miller attempt to battle each other for position number 6 there. Just a moment or so ago, looks like Ed Boyles Jr. is doing a fairly decent job at extending that gap over the 48 machine as they work their way into this tight left-hander after the long back straightaway. We were hearing some of the guys in the real world, Paul, say that they were going from about 185, 190 miles an hour down to 40 in that turn. That is insane, the difference in speed with these machines. And as you mentioned at the top of the broadcast here, these cars are not made for road racing. They're not supposed to do this very well. So it's difficult to get these big, heavy stock cars to slow down that much in that short of time.
Yeah, and we're taking a peek now at Michael Miller there in the 48 machine, currently running in the 6th position. And you can tell, as they come up to some of these 90-degree turns and some of these hairpin turns, they don't really do it all that majestically. They kind of come to a complete stop, crank that wheel as hard as you can to the left or the right, and get that thing turned, and then start to kind of feather back onto the throttle so you don't spin the back end of the race car around. So it's definitely a tall order for these drivers to get these to muscle these cars around this road course, as it is with pretty much any of the road course races here in the iRacing service in this Cup car. It's a big, heavy stock car, and I mean, there you can see a prime example. The number 3, the leader of this race, just comes to almost a complete stop, gets that thing turned around the hairpin, and then hammer back down. You got to go back through the gears. First gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, and then you got to hammer back down on the long straightaway, and then you've got a quick little short left-hand turn here, so back down through the gears, hitting the brake. There's a lot of different things that are going on here, and it might actually be a really good opportunity here to ride on board with that number 3 of Kenny Coppola.
Yeah, you can see him working through the back portion of the racetrack here. This is in the final few turns. Comes down, makes this left-hander, kind of a double turn, 2 turns inside of one braking zone. Working back up through the gears now. You'll have this long sweeping right-handed turn. This is also leads into 2 different turns. He gets right down on the rumble strip, trying to get that car to turn the best he can. Fades out to the left. Comes back down for this left-hander. Whoa, look out, Chris Spear going for a spin right in front of him. He's able to avoid that. And then this right here is the final turn. Shifts it down, gets right up to the rumble strip, and here is the home stretch, building up the speed and getting ready to go up the hill into the tight turn. You can see the speed difference here. Let's watch this as it goes up into turn number 1, how fast he goes, and then where it drops down to 156 max speed. He brakes and slows down to 38 miles an hour. So that is a very, very big difference in speed, and it makes it look easy, nice and smooth through the turns, and now entering the S's.
Yeah, fantastic drive here for the number 3 at Kenny Coppola. Definitely shows that he's run at least a couple of practice laps here at Circuit of the Americas, because he is putting on a show here. 8.8 seconds over Tim Wortman Jr. in the second spot, and well, it's about 30 seconds back to Matt Mackin in third place. So great drive here from the number 3 and the 00 of Tim Wortman Jr. We'll check in with him. Pretty much all by himself on the racetrack. It doesn't look like the car is in too bad a shape. A little bit of damage in the front of the car, but nothing too crazy. Back into the third position. Again, this is 38 seconds behind the leader, Matt McInerney, the number 9 Napa machine, in the third position. Doing a great job holding on, and we're actually seeing 3 of the top 5 spots are held by Hendrick Motorsports. 88 of Ed Boyles Jr. running in that 4th position in the Fatheads eyewear Camaro there, and back to 5th place. You can almost see right in the, just barely in the rearview mirror of the 88. Michael Miller in the 48 machine is holding tough in there in that top 5, and Alonzo King made a pit stop a couple laps rather later than these cats, so we might see him try and work his way up towards the pack, up towards the front here rather, towards the end of this run, as maybe the tires start to fall off up front, but not a good opportunity to kind of save a little bit for the number 47. I would say with 2 or 3 lap fresher tires, if he's able to save anything, he might be able to bring a little bit of thunder to the table later on here, as we're working lap number 15 halfway in this 100-miler here at the 3.5-mile track.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what that strategy does for Alonzo King as we work through the second half of this race and really get an idea as to the difference between his strategy and those that the leaders took. You're looking at the battle going on here between the 96 of Joshua Nolan and the 24 of Wade Palmer. The 5th, Palmer, was just able to make that pass for position number 7, so he'll take it. Whoa, hang on, little sideways, trying to save it, sliding, and does not spin that Liberty University Chevrolet Camaro around, but he does give that position right back to Joshua Nolan, who will take that very appreciatively and will now try to hang on as they got Alonzo King just up in front of him by a couple of seconds. Paul, I believe you said that 96 car is still on his initial set of tires. He has not been to pit road yet?
That he is. He is running in the 7th position, has not come down pit lane yet, so going to lose a lot of track position when he does come down, but going to definitely have some much fresher tires come to the end of the race compared to some of these other drivers. Preston Perrier there in the 13. I'm just taking a look. The last time he was down pit road was 13 laps ago. So has plenty of fuel in the car, I would imagine, but tires definitely starting to fall off. We saw him get caught up on lap number 2 or 3, I believe it was, where he got stuck in the wall. Doing a great job moving himself back up to that 10th position, but definitely going to have to come down pit road at least one more time. And there you can see the 95 coming down pit road there. That's Ken Ellert in the 95. It looks like he's going to be grabbing another set of tires. Came down about 15 laps ago, so kind of curious. I'm wondering if maybe some of these guys... nope, came down, 13, 14 laps ago. So might just be coming down for service for the first time. And there you can actually see the 96 on pit road as well, making that stop. So looks like they were just trying to make it a halfway here, and we're just a little bit past that. Lap number 16 in the books of 30, the distance that we're going here tonight at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, I think these guys showing the difference in strategy. Joshua Nolan, I think it's pretty clear now that he comes in at the halfway point. He's trying to do this race on one stop, while I think some of the other guys up at the front of the field, they are going on a 2-stop strategy. So we should be seeing race leader Kenny Capola come down pit road here in probably another 4 laps or so, as he's just about ready to complete lap number 16 out in front of this field. Continues to extend his lead. It's 10.5 seconds at the moment. We'll get the official gap once Tim Wortman Jr. crosses the line to complete this lap, but still very smooth up at the front of this field, not making very many mistakes. He's in a world of his own right now. He doesn't really have anybody around him, and with only 20 cars in this race on this 3.43-mile road course, very easy to space these cars out across this track and give yourself plenty of space to work with. And as you said, Paul, got to race the racetrack before you can really race anybody else. And getting into that zone of your own, being able to truly race the track could be a benefit for a lot of these guys, and we're definitely seeing that here with Kenny Capola, who now that Wortman has crossed the line, just shy of 12 seconds he has over Tim Wortman Jr.
Yeah, and that sounds like a whole lot, but well, it is definitely a huge lead. And just taking a quick look at the lap times the last time by, Kenny Capola ran a lap here, 2 minutes 23 seconds, and Tim Wortman Jr. was 2 minutes 25 seconds, so a little bit slower on the stopwatch there for Wortman Jr. in the 00. But I mean, you can see Kenny Capola is just doing a fantastic job muscling this race car all the way around this racetrack. Couple of minor incidences, couple of minor mistakes throughout the first 17 laps of the race here, but nothing major, and really putting on a clinic here as we can see him work the hairpin turn there. 12.5-second lead here at Circuit of the Americas. Definitely nothing to shake a stick at.
No, not at all. It's almost been a completely new world for Kenny Capola. Remember, he did not start the season driving this number 3 machine for the Richard Childress Racing Team. He just took that ride over about a month or so ago, and ever since he did, he's been very strong. Makes a little mistake there, pushes a little bit wide, but that's really been a rarity for him in this event. Not many mistakes like that, and even when he does make a mistake, it isn't by too much. So it really has been a resurrection for Kenny Capola, starting to light things up in a new ride at a really, really good time. We mentioned earlier that he needs to win in order to make the playoffs. There's no way he's going to point his way in, and so far he's showing that this could be his opportunity. He was close the last few weeks. He ran very good at Dover, very good at Darlington, just couldn't finish it off. Now we see him running very strong again. He's got a big lead, probably has another pit stop yet to come, but so far things are looking very good for this number 3 machine. This could be his opportunity to punch his ticket to the playoffs here in the Fatheads Cup Series.
Check in with second place here. Tim Wortman Jr. Came down pit road 6 laps ago and running in that second position, as you made mention, 12.6 seconds back from the leader. Gained a little bit that time, gained about a tenth last time by on the leader, Kenny Capola. But car looks to be in one piece for the most part. Not too much damage all the way around it, and definitely seems to show here. Matt Mackin in the number 9 car, the Hendrick Motorsports Napa entry. Again, you can see pretty clean all the way around the race car, not too much dented up sheet metal. 44 seconds behind the leader, 32 seconds behind second place. And we can see the other 2 Hendrick cars running in the top 5 here. Ed Boyles Jr., the number 88 Fatheads machine, still running in that 4th position. Michael Miller in the 48. He is still working his way, trying to get up to that 4th place car, the number 88. But and then Ed Boyles Jr., or check that, Alonzo King there in the 6th position, kind of trying to work his way back up. Came down, we made mention, he came down pit road a little bit later than some of the leaders here, so working with a little bit fresher rubber on that number 47, the 24 of Wade Palmer, the 5th, running in the 7th position. Pretty much status quo all the way around the racetrack. If not single file, we've got some gaps between each of the drivers. Preston Perrier there in the number 13 Geico ride. He has raced himself up to the 8th position, and again, he's on 15-lap old tires. Came down about lap 2, and there you can see it looks like he's going to come down pit road as well and get some service, get some tires to that race car. But a great drive for the number 13, working all the way up to P8 after the incident there on lap 2 or 3. Came down pit road, got the car repaired, and looks like he's going to come down for some service on that, so that's going to drop him back a few positions. David Douthwaite, there you can see him running the Tour Modified car here, the number 23 Columbia ride, the Toyota Camry. Having some issues earlier on tonight, but it really doesn't look like that damage is slowing him down too much as he's getting around the track. And we just saw off screen a little bit that 15 NOS ride of Ryan Kling. A little bit of an off-track incident, not too much damage around that race car. Seems to be in one piece. There's a little bit of a crinkle there on the back bumper, but nothing too crazy there. And just rounding out the top 10, taking a peek, Joshua Nolan there in the 96. We saw him come down pit road a few laps ago, and he's rounding out the top 10. Pretty relatively clean race car compared to a lot of the other ones. A little bit of a crinkle again on the back bumper, but everything else appears to look pretty good.
Yeah, this is where we really start to kind of get into the rhythm portion for these drivers. A lot of guys are solo around this racetrack by themselves, not really having a lot of interaction with other drivers. This is one of the very few battles that we have going on around the speedway right now. This is with the number 10 machine of James Kerr. Well, actually, I say that it's a battle, but it's just a group of cars that are kind of racing around each other. James Kerr is some laps behind this 27 of Ian Yeager. Right behind them, however, Matt Mackin and Ed Boyles Jr., that is a battle, or will soon become a battle for position number 3. Those two Hendrick Motorsports cars will fight for the third place position here. Ed Boyles Jr., he's had a couple spins tonight. I don't believe Matt Mackin has really had any troubles in that number 9 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet Camaro. So Boyles Jr. doing a very good job of recovering from some earlier issues. Never really hit anything, just did a few innocent spins, and now trying to close in on his teammate for a podium position, as I believe we're going to get ready to see the second round of pit stops for some of our front runners that are taking this two-stop strategy, as we are running on lap number 19. So I would assume that we are going to start seeing them pit next time by as they come to complete lap number 20.
And that's really going to throw a monkey wrench into this whole deal. We just saw the 13 of Preston Perrier. He made it about halfway, 15 or so laps on that set of tires. He running a little bit slower, but if he is able to save a bunch of time by not coming down pit road technically a third time, as he did crash earlier on, but there's a couple of drivers that came down. They stretched this out until lap 15, 16 or so, as we can see the 27 car getting passed by both the 9 and the 88, and that's going to pretty much continue on to the third place battle there. But we might have a little bit of battling strategies here. And we can see the 18 of Jimmy Afsher. He just came down pit road. Looks like he took 2 tires, and a lot of drivers towards the back. Ryan Kling on pit road, and the number 15, Derek Cook, just came down pit road 5 laps ago. Ian Yeager in that 27, we just saw him on screen. He's got 4 fresh tires from 2 laps ago. Chris Beer, Colin Ziemer, Ken Eller, and James Kerr all down pit road within the past couple of laps. So might be interesting to see if the leaders do come down pit road, or if they're going to try and stretch out this set of tires.
Some pretty fun stuff to watch with these Hendrick Motorsports guys. Ed Boyles Jr. was able to make the pass on Matt Mackin, but Mackin's been able to stick with him ever since then, just trying to follow in his tire tracks and see if he can contend to get back around his teammate in that 88 car. Mackin, not one of the drivers to go to victory lane this season, but he is sitting pretty decently inside the playoffs at the moment. He came into tonight's race in position number 11 in the point standings, and that is with a 26-point gap ahead of David Douthwaite in position number 17. So pretty good sitting in those playoff standings. He only has 1 playoff point at the moment throughout the regular season. So you would assume he would like to try to bump that up a little bit, but being 47 seconds behind race leader Kenny Capola, going to be difficult to try to add to that total here tonight. But either way, still a very strong run, running ahead of David Douthwaite, running in position number 4, so he should be able to extend the gap on the cut line either way and head into the off week with some pretty good momentum. And really, all of these Hendrick Motorsports drivers looking to head into next week's off week with a lot of momentum, going to victory lane last week with Wade Palmer the 5th, having 4 of their 5 drivers in good shape to make the playoffs. Definitely a team that is going to be one to watch as well. Colin Ziemer, he gets off and does a quick little boop to the wall in the turn there that he had made his mistake in. Ziemer, not a great night for him, just trying to make it through. He's in 16th right now, 1 lap down, only 20 cars in the field, so he's just trying to survive and hope that he doesn't make too many catastrophic mistakes throughout the rest of this race. And now we go back to race leader Kenny Capola, who, if we are predicting correctly, is on a 2-stop strategy. We will see here, Paul, that if that is the case, he should be coming in this time.
Yeah, if not this time, definitely next time by, because we saw him come down on lap number 10, pretty much splitting this thing into thirds, and he's got a 15-second lead over Tim Wortman Jr., so no pressure from behind, and you can see he's kind of working lap traffic just a little bit, and give the gold star to Kyle Young, because he nailed that. There you can see the leader coming down pit road. We'll see if it's a 2-tire or 4-tire. I mean, at this point, Kyle, you got a 15-second lead, you may as well just change 4 tires.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised to see him do anything but a 4-tire pit stop here. I don't really see what the advantage of taking 2 would be. And here's second place Tim Wortman Jr. He's on the same strategy. Remember, these 2 guys, they are teammates at the Richard Childress Racing Stable. I know that the 00 machine is a Spire motor, or sorry about that. That is a Starcom racing machine in real world, but the FATHEADZ Cup Series, allowing some of the guys that are racing for the smaller teams to kind of combine up with one of the big ones, and that's what Tim Wortman Jr. gets to do. He is part of the Richard Childress Racing Stable in that 00 machine, and you can see also third place Ed Boyles Jr. He is going to make his way down to pit road. Let's see what Matt Mackin does. He wasn't too far behind that 88 car. Looks like he is going to make a pit stop as well. Kenny Capola, he has already completed his stop. He has been on and off pit road for tire change for the number 3 machine. Tim Wortman Jr. just wrapping up his stop. He is off of pit road, and now those 2 Hendrick Motorsports cars, the ones that are on at the moment. 5th place is Michael Miller, who you just saw on your screen a little while ago. He is on pit road. Alonzo King is on pit road. That one kind of surprises me a bit here, Paul. It seemed like he was going for a bit of a different strategy than what these front guys were doing, but he decides to make this second run a bit shorter and comes and makes his second pit stop along with just about everybody else here in the front half of the field.
Yeah, so far, Kyle, we've gone through the top 7 drivers. All 7 drivers have come down this time by to get service. There you can see David Douthwaite in the number 23 in the 8th position. He's going to come down. Preston Purrier, he was just on pit road 2 laps ago, so this is going to be a big for him. As you can see, he drives all the way over on the right side of the racetrack. I am not pitting this time by. I just came down 2 laps ago, so good opportunity to make up some track position here. Gonna be interesting to see. I think he can definitely make it from here on out. He did get 4 tires when he came down pit road 3 laps ago. You can see he's already up to the 7th position, and he's going to be able to move, gain a lot of track position on some of these drivers. But there you can see Kenny Capola still has the lead. Much better pit stop, it looks like, than Tim Wortman Jr. As you can see, there's a 17.5-second lead for Kenny Capola over Tim Wortman. So really all Kenny Capola has to do is just kind of hit his marks, don't beat up the car too much, and try not to get involved in anything, and he'll be able to come home with a victory, knock himself into the playoffs here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it really looks like at this point it's going to come down to a mistake by that 3 machine if he is going to do anything but go to victory lane. Whoa, there's a big lockup for Tim Wortman Jr., able to keep it off of the grass, but overshoots that left-handed turn by just a little bit, so that'll help Kenny Capola extend his race lead. It's just been so smooth, so consistent, very, very good for that 3 machine. Tim Wortman Jr. been in position number 2. He's been good enough to escape the grass with the Hendrick guys. He has a very big gap back to Ed Boyles Jr. and Matt Mackin, who are back in positions 3 and 4. So looks like at the moment, unless something big happens for race leader Kenny Capola, who he just made a bit of a lockup mistake there in turn number 1. Looks like Tim Wortman Jr. is on pace for a 2nd place finish, and that's got to be tough to kind of be in that situation, knowing that you don't really have the speed to be up there and to be able to challenge for the race lead. But at the same time, it is a teammate. He is going to take the points lead once this race is over, with Caleb Levener being MIA tonight, and he's got some wins in the bag. So this could be a great testing tool for him to see if maybe he can challenge for the win for the regular season finale at Watkins Glen in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, for sure. In Watkins Glen, it's a little bit of a more open racetrack. It's a little bit shorter and a lot of sweeping turns there, and it's one of those road courses that's been in the NASCAR Cup Series for a very long time. So a lot of these sim racers that have been around for a long time here in the FATHEADZ Cup Series and maybe other leagues that they've run before, they've run at Watkins Glen before. They know the racetrack, and they're able to kind of... It's not like one of these newer ones where you have to come in and learn the track and everything like that. It's one of those deals just like riding a bike. You race it a few times, just like Sonoma as well, or Sears Point, as it used to be called way back in the day for some of the first NASCAR games that actually came out. It's a couple of road courses that all the drivers kind of almost know. You kind of almost have them memorized. So we might see a little bit of a closer race there, but you can see Tim Wortman closed up just a little bit. He's up to about 16.6 seconds now behind Kenny Capola, but not much to get too crazy excited about. But we did see some heads-up driving there from the 00 a few laps ago when he did lock those tires up. Did a great job. Did really good heads-up driving. He didn't panic. He knew he overshot the corner. He locked the brakes up, but then he got back off, let the car kind of roll, was able to steer that thing into, kept it on the pavement for the most part. A little bit of an off-track incident, but could have been catastrophic for sure. It could have smashed into the wall, smashed into another car, but did a great job, locked the thing up, and just kind of loosened it up, was one with the car, and did a great job keeping that 2nd position.
He'll close in now on the 18 machine of Jimmy Absher, lap traffic in the Skills Toyota Camry. Absher giving him plenty of space to work with on the left side, and Wortman Jr. will work his way around with no issues. So that will clear the lap traffic for quite a while for that 00 machine. The 3 machine to Kenny Capola, he's going to have Ryan Kling in the 15 to work with here in a handful of corners or so. Ryan Kling not that far away from Kenny Capola, and he's trying to reel down the 14 machine of Derek Cook as well, who is only about a second and a quarter ahead of that number 15 NOS Energy drink machine. So could be a potential battle for position number 11 going on right in front of your race leader here in just a few moments. There's the 14 of Derek Cook, and there you can see the 15 of Ryan Kling right back to him. So those two drivers getting ready to battle. They're trying to stay on the lead lap, but I think it's pretty clear that at this point, Kenny Capola is going to make quick work of them once he is able to get to him. Still 3 seconds back is the race leader, so gives these guys a little bit of an opportunity to do some battling and see what can happen here for position 11.
Yeah, one of the closest battles on the racetrack between the 14 and the 15 here, and there you can see creeping, not even creeping, coming up in a hard way, the number 3 Bass Pro Shop, Kenny Capola, just really laying the hammer down and just putting down some blistering laps. Last lap by was 2 minutes 22 seconds versus pretty much everybody else running in the 2 minute 24 second bracket. So almost a second, 2 seconds quicker than just about everybody on track here. And you can see the 14 off track just a little bit. Going to give the opportunity for the 15 to kind of close up, but he got a couple of tires off track as well. So a couple of drivers just kind of working. Now they're side by side coming into the turn. So 14's going to pull over and say, you know what, I made a mistake, you go on ahead. Gentleman move there from the number 14 of Derek Cook, letting Ryan Kling by, but also looking in his rearview mirror, seeing that leader coming, and then he's looking out the windshield, seeing him going. That 3 car is bad fast. Kenny Capola doing a great job working lap traffic here.
So he gets by Derek Cook with no issue, closing in on Ryan Kling, and then Colin Ziemer just up ahead by about another 7.5 seconds. We'll throw you on board with Kenny Capola as he works his way up the hill and into turn number 1. There you can see just in front of him is where Ryan Kling is at. Very smooth on the steer. Whoa, Kling goes way, way, way wide, overshoots turn number 1. So Capola at least had plenty of space to make the lap on the 15 machine, but that's going to make things a little more challenging. Well, not too bad. He was able to stay ahead of Derek Cook by a good margin, and now working his way through the S's. These are some of the most difficult S's in road racing here on the iRacing service, Paul. They seem to be a little bit longer, maybe an extra turn or two than what a normal S section is, and then it ends up with this very sharp and abrupt left-hander too. That kind of kicks off another small little section of S curves as well. So this is a very, very, very demanding part of the racetrack and one of the toughest to get through. You can see slight little wiggle there for Capola. He'll have a slight left-handed kink here, and then another hard braking zone, one of the very few but very challenging left-handed hairpins on this race course, and then this leads to the long back straightaway that ends in another tight left-handed hairpin.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I'd get lost. Lots of kudos to these drivers here in the FATHEADZ Cup Series, especially Kenny Capola up front, 19 seconds is the lead. You can see he's going to get around the number 22 of Colin Ziemer, rather. And there's that hard left-hand hairpin you were just talking about. And this is a crazy racetrack, 3.5 miles, one of the longer road courses on the schedule here, one of the longer racetracks on the schedule here. And the 3 car just doing it like it's a Sunday drive, doing a fantastic job, showing some really good car control. And these cars are heavy, they're clunky, they're really hard to drive on these road courses. And Kenny Capola just doing his best to make it look easy.
Slight little wiggle there, but again, the mistakes that Kenny is making, very minimal, very little effect on his overall performance, and it's just been a lights-out performance for him. He took the lead early on after Preston Pereira made a mistake, but ever since then, he's just opened it up, has not faltered, has not been one to really struggle tonight, just putting down great laps, looking very smooth, and doing everything that he needs to do. 6 laps away from his first victory of the season and a playoff berth here in the FATHEADZ Cup Series. Just 3 races left to go, including tonight's race, so we'll be down to the final 2 races after this one. We'll remind you that next Wednesday night, single show next Wednesday, with the TCM Weekly Series. This Fatheads Cup Series will not be racing next Wednesday night. They will have a week off for a spring break to kind of give the teams, give the drivers a bit of an opportunity to relax, maybe enjoy some spring weather if they are fortunate enough to get it in their area, and then they'll be back on what would that be? March 24th will be the return for this series for their 150 lap race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and then they'll cap off the regular season next week at the Watkins Glen International to set the playoff field. And if we're seeing anything that could be a potential spoiler for that event, Paul, if Kenny Capola is this good and this dominant on a racetrack that is as difficult as this one is, I can only imagine what kind of damage he could do on this field at Watkins Glen, which is a track that is much faster, much wider, and nowhere near as technical as what this place is.
Yeah, for sure. This is really going to be, at this point, a lot of these drivers know that this is essentially a test session for Watkins Glen at this point. Just a commanding lead, 19.4 seconds of a lead for Kenny Capola. So this pretty much in the back here. We got about 5 laps to go here, and still 15 miles of race. I mean, anything can definitely happen, but Kenny Capola doing a fantastic job in that number 3 Bass Pro Shop car, and you can see him just kind of working the racetrack like it's the back of his hand. But a lot of these drivers know that Watkins Glen's faster, it's wider, and it's a bit more racier. It's more of a racer's racetrack, or a racer's road course racetrack, as it were. So they also have an off week to test it out. Fatheads off next Wednesday. We do have Tim's Corner Motorsports. We are actually doing a doubleheader for the weekly racing series at Nashville Fairgrounds next Wednesday night for the Tim's Corner Motorsports. So be sure to join myself, Dylan Langile, and Mike James from The Rock. Little St. Patrick's Day racing, as it were. I don't know why I agreed to work a double on St. Patrick's Day, but I guess that's neither here nor there. We're going to have to hit Taco Tuesday the night before a little bit harder.
There you go. So down to just 5 laps to go. Flagger shows him a handful as he comes underneath the stripe. 5 laps remaining for Kenny Capola. The lead now looks like it's going to be just over 20 seconds back to Tim Wortman Jr. this time by. Lap traffic-wise, I would think maybe he's going to get into some more traffic with as fast as he's been going. Joshua Nolan is the 10th place car. He's about 23 seconds ahead of Kenny Capola. Sounds like it's a lot, but with the pace difference from what Capola has done to the rest of the field, I can imagine that he'll probably get to at least Nolan, maybe Ken Ellert and David Douthwaite as well. But for the most part, it's going to be clean sailing, clean racetrack for that 3 machine. And kind of looking at some of the gaps here, and Matt Mack in the 9 machine, he's lost touch with his teammate Ed Boyles Jr. there in the 88 machine. And I thought that maybe Michael Miller was going to have an opportunity to kind of battle him for third, but it looks like that gap has separated by quite a bit here over this last lap. And actually, Matt Mackin was able to gain a little bit of time on Kenny Capola. Unfortunately for him, he's over a minute behind Kenny Capola at the moment. There you can see Mackin. He's got Jimmy Absher closing up to Jimmy Absher here, just about a second and a half behind him, who is just trying to survive and finish this race up. It's been a rough one. He's 13th, damage to the front end, and here's Michael Miller in the 48 car, roughly 6 seconds behind this number 9 machine. Preston Purrier, what a shout out, what a drive by Preston Purrier here in this 13 machine. He made a mistake back on lap 2 or 3 from the race lead, got stuck in one of the guardrails, fell way back in this field, and has been on a tear. He is up to 6th place. He is only 4 seconds behind Michael Miller for a top 5. I think he could get there, Paul, and he's only 8 seconds behind Matt Mack, and he very well could come back to finish 4th tonight.
Yeah, very impressive drive for Preston Purrier. Started on the pole, and you may imagine just lap 2 or 3 just completely drove into the wall, and a very costly mistake there. But with pit strategy, it looks like going to come home with a decent finish here, running in the 6th position. Alonzo King trying to, earlier on, we thought he was going to work a little bit of pit strategy into this race, but you can see he started 4th, currently running in the 7th position here. And best lap time there you can see is a 2 minute 24 second. Last time by 4 seconds slower. So tires definitely playing a factor there. There you can see the 24 machine started 8th, currently running in the 8th position for the number 24 Liberty Mutual or the Liberty University machine there. and 23rd, the 23 car rather, David Douthwaite. Lots of damage to that machine. Started 7th, currently running in the 9th position, and car seems to be handling okay. Doesn't seem like it's running down on power or anything like that, so holding on to a top 10, and there you can see Joshua Nolan in the 96 also holding on to that 10th position there, and that's actually it for the lead lap cars. 10 cars on lead lap. Ryan King, Derek Cook, Jimmy Absher, Chris Spear, Ian Yeager, and Ken Eller all 1 lap down. Colton Zemer 2 laps down to the number 22, and James Kerr, Wade Palmer the 4th, and Joshua Battles no longer in this race. So 17 drivers still on track, and appears to be 10 of them on the lead lap. Kenny Capola still out front by a lot. 22.8 seconds the gap between first and second place. It seems like Kenny said, hey, watch this, let's see if we can extend this lead into something a little bit of astronomical.
Been paying attention to Preston Purrier here, Paul, and he is driving the wheels off of this car, running lap times a little bit faster than what Kenny Capola is able to do at the front of the field, and he's only 2.5 seconds or so behind the 48 machine of Michael Miller. So give it another lap or two, and I really do believe that this 13 machine is going to be able to battle for position. And let me check that real quick. Kenny Capola, about 1.25 seconds faster than what Preston Purrier was able to run that last lap. So not quite as fast as Kenny Capola is, but he's definitely faster than the cars that are in front of him. So he should be able to close in and battle for a top 5 position. You can see those 2 cars right up in front of him. The first one is Chris Spear, but the one in front of Chris Spear in that 7 machine, that is the 48 of Michael Miller, and that is for a position that one way in the distance up there, kind of going over the top of the hill. That is Matt Mackin in position number 4. So it'll be fun to watch Preston Purrier drive over these final 3.5 laps to see if he can close in on that 9 of Matt Mackin. I definitely feel like he's going to get to Michael Miller. It's going to be a little bit tougher to get to Mackin, but I think he's got the pace to be able to do it.
Absolutely driving the wheels off that car. You saw him hit 9,700 RPM there in second gear. Just giving everything that he absolutely can, and you can see it's definitely starting to close the gap on the 7 car and the car in front of him as well. 4th position there. You can see Matt Mackin off in the distance. The 48 car starting to get bigger and bigger in the windshield of that 13. A little bit of an off-track incident there, but gathers it back up and still has his crosshair set on the back bumper of that number 48 machine. He's going to try and get up to him. He's going to try and maybe get around him for position. As you can see, just really using every last inch of this racetrack to make up ground. And he's hungry. He knows he's got a little bit older tires than everybody else in the field right now, but he wants to try and at least make it up into the top 5 after that lap 2 mishap there from the lead.
He's got 3 laps to try to find 2.2 seconds on Michael Miller. He's closing in on Chris Spear, who is the lap to machine running in position number 13. Not quite close enough to get around that 7 just yet, but that should be able to happen here in a few turns as he's just a few car lengths back. Whoa, look out, Preston sideways through this S turn, and he is going to lose some time. Does not spin, but that is going to cost him valuable time. And maybe we just hit him with the commentator's curse, Paul, because now he is almost 10 seconds behind Michael Miller. It is going to be tough for him to make up the lost ground. And now it's going to be a challenge to get inside the top 5 with just 2 laps and change remaining.
That is super frustrating as a driver, Kyle, because I believe that's the same exact spot he made that mistake on lap number 2. Didn't get caught up in the wall this time, but as you made mention, lost a whole bunch of ground. Was coming real hard, and man, the fans over on the Facebook are definitely disappointed in that. Preston driving the absolute snot out of this race car, but unfortunately gets a little bit of an off-track incident there and not able to capitalize. Currently running, looks like still 2.6 seconds, it looks like, behind Michael Miller, but running out of time on track. Kenny Capola just really picking him up, putting him back down. There you can see he's got the number 96 of Joshua Nolan now in his crosshairs to try and put that 10th place driver a lap down. Doesn't seem like he's going to push the issue too much. He's got a 23.8 second lead. 23.8 second lead. Just kidding. Now it's a 29.2 second lead over Tim Wortman Jr. Just an absolute fantastic drive here for the number 3 of Kenny Coppola. Definitely shows he's been doing his homework. He put his practice laps in throughout the week here, and looks like unless anything out of the ordinary happens here in the last lap or two, this is going to show that Kenny Coppola is going to be heading into the off week with a victory, and knowing that he's raced his way in and won his way into the championship playoffs here coming up in just a couple of short weeks.
And if you're some of the guys around the cut line, Charles Stevens, who I don't believe is here tonight, he is not racing in this race tonight. Colin Zemer, Alonzo King. This isn't necessarily the most comforting thing to see, is a driver that is outside of the playoffs right now, winning and getting himself in. So that is going to put Charles Stevens on the outside of the playoff field if Kenny Coppola is able to win this race and hang on for the final lap and change that he has to do. With 2 races left, getting bumped out of the playoffs and not being at one of these last races, Paul, not good. Not good if you're that 20 machine, that 20 team of Charles Stevens. Hopefully he is able to come back in 2 weeks at the Charlotte Motor Speedway to truly compete for a playoff spot. It'll be fun to watch some of those drivers around the cut line go at it for those final few playoff positions. But not sure if he chose to skip tonight's race, because I know it appears that Jimmy Absher is the only JGR car that decided to race tonight. I don't see any of the other 3, so I don't know if those guys are not road racers and they didn't want to show up tonight, or if they just spontaneously had something happen. And the irony of all 3 of them not racing is true, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with those guys as the white flag has flown final time around the Circuit of the Americas for Kenny Coppola, the Texas Twister 100. One final circuit around this racetrack, and he will have the victory. Can he stay smooth, cap this one off with the win?
And there you can see Kenny Coppola got around the number 96 machine of Joshua Nolan to put the 10th place car 1 lap down, leaving 9 cars a lap down. And you can see David Douthwaite, the number 23, the next car in line to go a lap down. I don't think there's enough time for Coppola to catch him, but you can see at this point pretty much just a Sunday drive. Has to hit his, doesn't even necessarily have to hit his mark. 34.4 seconds the gap between first and second. So Kenny just pretty much has to get around the racetrack. Don't spin it around, don't hit anything, don't hit anybody else. This win is his, and that playoff berth is his as well.
Over the last few weeks, Kenny Coppola has been very strong, very consistent, just hasn't quite been able to cap off those runs with the victory that he has been chasing. It was last week at the Dover International Speedway is where we were at. And he was up towards the front, running very well, led a race-high 63 laps, but came home in 4th. That's half the race. He led half of last week's race, did not go to victory lane, and had to suffer a 4th place finish. The previous week at the Darlington Raceway, he ran very well, was up towards the front of the field, never led any laps, but ran decent and ended up finishing in position at number 13. Tonight, he's led the majority of the race. He's been up towards the front ever since lap 2, lap 3, something around those lines when Preston Purrier made his mistake, and has not looked back ever since. He's only made a few small mistakes, a couple off tracks, a few slides, no spins, no contacts with anything. It has been a smooth sailing performance for this number 3 of Kenny Coppola. He came into tonight's race 24th in the point standings. No way he was going to point his way into the playoffs. Now he doesn't have to worry about that. Out of turn number 16, the checkered flag flies. Kenny Coppola will win the Texas Twister 100, and he will punch his ticket into the playoffs for the Fatheads Cup Series that will start here in about 4 weeks' time. The 3 machine of Coppola goes to victory lane, and he is in. Tim Wortman Jr. now working his way through the final couple corners. he will take over the overall points lead of this series tonight. Caleb Levener had him by 8 points. He did not show up to compete in tonight's race due to internet issues, so now the overall points lead will go back to Tim Wortman Jr. He will finish in position number 2 as he crosses the stripe right there to claim that finish. And now, see, this is the fun part about road racing, Paul, is that you think as soon as the winner's crossing the line, everybody's crossing the line, and it's a quick and simple little wrap-up like it usually is. Well, no, that's not the case. It's a staggered, I guess, celebration as now we watch Ed Boyles Jr. in position number 3 get ready to cross the stripe.
Yeah, lots of different drivers, different strategies, different pit road here. As you can see, Ed Boyles Jr. running in the 3rd position. Doesn't really have much of a challenge, but he's going to come into turn 16, hold on to that 3rd position, and does pretty much the same thing. 2 tires off there, but he's going to cross the stripe. Boom, there it is, 3rd place position for Ed Boyles Jr. Matt Mackin actually gets passed, it looks like, by Michael Miller. Nope, now it looks like timing and scoring is doing something kind of weird. And I'm not really sure what the deal is with that. I believe that's still accurate on screen. Ed Boyles, Matt Mackin, Michael Miller in the 5th spot. Preston Perrier, great drive. Great drive for the number 6, or the number 13 rather, finishes in the 6th position. Alonzo King, Wade Pump the 5th. David Douthwaite in the 23 finishes 9th. Last car in the lead lap, and Joshua Nolan, there you see him, the number 96 finishing in the 10th position.
So the first road race of the season is complete for the Fatheads Cup Series, and it was an absolute dominating performance by the 3 of Kenny Capola. Gets his first win of the season, locks himself into the playoffs. He will race for a championship, and it's very good for him. He, as we said, he came into the point standings tonight 24th in points. He missed 4 races this season, so now that disadvantage that he has been put at because of that, it's gone. He's got that victory. He knows he's going to race for a championship now, and these final couple weeks can be an opportunity for him to gain some more playoff points coming into this race tonight. He had 4. He will gain, I believe he's going to gain 7 playoff points in this race. So that's going to put him with 11 here with just 2 races left remaining in the regular season going into the off week. So that's going to be very good for him, Paul, to kind of set himself up not only for the playoffs, but to seed himself very well once the playoff rankings come in.
Absolutely, and be sure to check out the Fatheads Cup Series Facebook page. They are linked up in the video post description there. You can check them out for all the points and season updates, and they've got the website on there as well that was put together by Chris Spear. But there you can see Chris Spear finishes 12th, Derek Cook finishes 11th, Ian Yeager finishes that 27 car in the 13th position, Jimmy Apsher in the 14th position, Ken Allert 15th, Ryan Kling, Colin Zemer, James Kerr, Wade Palmer the 4th, and Joshua Battles rounding out the top 20. And 20 drivers here tonight, a little bit short on the field, but still some exciting racing and a great finish there for Kenny Capola, and just absolutely dominating race here. And I believe you've caught up with him over there in Victory Lane, Kyle.
Yeah, down here hanging out with these guys over in turn number 1 where the podium is kind of chilling out right now. Kenny Capola, victor tonight in the Texas Twister 100. Man, Kenny, you sure made this thing look easy tonight, but I'm sure it wasn't. Take us through this very challenging 3.43-mile road course from your perspective for 30 laps.
Oh man, this track can be a total nightmare, and it started heating up on us out there. It was like a ice skating rink. I and my team practiced really hard this week. We had a setup and went with it, and we put a lot of laps here and got used to the cars and long run different pit strategy. And what a race, though. What a fun time. These heavy cars are really fun to get around this track.
Kenny, what was the preparation like for this race? This obviously being a new venue for the Real World NASCAR Cup Series, and it's bringing sim racers of all kinds to this racetrack with these race cars, bringing them a combination that they probably haven't ever ran before. So I'm sure that it took a lot of learning just to get the layout down and just to get comfortable with this track. But what was it like to learn it and then to really master it and to be as competitive as you were tonight?
You know, it was super frustrating. I think it took me 6 or 7 tries just to get out of pit lane to stay on the track. In turn 1, I always carried too much speed, but you just drive it and you feel the grip and feel where you can push the car, where you got to hold up. And It's really just the amount of laps. I probably put in about 500 laps here in the past week just to get a good feel for what the car is going to give me.
And then, of course, the biggest change with this victory, you came into tonight's race 24th in points, missing 4 races thus far. That all goes away. The victory puts you in the playoffs. You are going to race for a championship. How important is that for you to get this win out of the way, lock yourself into the playoffs so late in the season, and know that with these final 2 races left in the regular season, you don't have to worry, the pressure is off now?
Oh, it's super huge. I got to thank my teammates. They've really been pushing me, and I've been pushing really hard all season. I know having 4 races missed is a tough feat to come back and try to get on point. So I worked as hard as I could to try to get a race win just to lock myself in. And I've got some road experience in the real life, so I figured maybe this race or Watkins Glen was my chance in to get my win. And it's really just about putting the laps in and working hard.
Well, you took advantage of your opportunity more so than I think any of us would have imagined. You get the victory tonight in the Texas Twister 100. You had made some shout-outs to your teammates. Anybody else that you would like to thank for getting this 3 car to victory lane?
Yeah, I want to thank FATHEADZ, the guys at FATHEADZ Vidane TV. They are awesome. Do a sim nut racing, sims, butt kicker, budget sim boxes, harpoon design, Bass Pro Shops, Monster Energy. I mean, Chevrolet gave me a good car tonight. RCR, me and the team worked hard.
He's only been in this number 3 machine for a few races, but he's made the most of it, and he goes to victory lane tonight, punches his ticket to the playoffs, and he will race for a championship later on this season. Kenny Capola, winner of tonight's Texas Twister 100 here at Circuit of the Americas, wins it in dominating fashion. Almost a perfect race, led all but the opening lap. A 35.8-second victory over Tim Wortman Jr., who, Paul, you are down to talk to him now.
That I am down here with the double op machine of Tim Bortman Jr. Championship implications with Caleb Levener having internet issues. Tim, you move yourself into the overall season championship leader here. Already won a race, so you're in the playoffs here, and a good drive, a good solid drive, finishing second place here tonight after a third place start. Man, talk to us about your race.
Man, I hated that for Caleb. I took a vacation during Darlington, and took a big hit in the points. But I was sure hoping to race him tonight to get the points lead back. But how about that win for Kenny, man? He he didn't say in his interview, but I've never seen anybody put in so much time during a week for a league race. Not only that, he created a baseline setup for the whole league guys to go out and run. Just a class act of a guy this week, and I couldn't be happier to come in second place to him.
Yeah, definitely picking him up and putting him down here. Definitely led the race by a few seconds there, 30 something second.
Yeah, there was no touching. There was no touching him tonight.
Yeah, great drive by the number 3, and very cool to hear that sharing setups and things like that for the league to kind of pick up. You usually hear teammates doing like that, but to have somebody go out and in dominating fashion win, you're sharing your setup and everything like that. Very very cool class act from the number 3, but. A great drive from the 00. Did you have any kind of pit strategy? We saw a couple drivers maybe tried to make it on one pit stop. Was that anything that you looked at earlier on, or were you just going to do a two-tire or a two-stop race?
I was always committed to 2 stops. I think the tire fall off is so bad that you gain so much with new tires that you make up the 40 seconds that you spend in the pits pretty quickly. So yeah, I was always sticking to 2 stops, and the fresher tires is less chance of a mistake.
Absolutely. And we saw a couple of drivers make some minor mistakes, but all in all, pretty good race all the way throughout the field, and you came home second place here. Who do we got on the car, the hood, the sponsors, anybody that makes it happen here for the 00 machine?
First off, I want to thank Fatheads for sponsoring the league. Just that it's been awesome that they've been able to step up and sponsor us and keep this thing going for the rest of the year. It's great that we have it to where we can have you as guys as the broadcasters. Obviously, want to thank SimNut, Butt Kicker, Budget Sim Boxes, Harpoon Design. But I want to shout out Ryan Daly of graphics for the Starcom Racing. He gave me an absolutely awesome card a sharp looking card to run this last 2 weeks, and we may just be keeping this on the car the rest of the year.
Yeah, definitely a good looking paint scheme there for the 00, and a great run here tonight. Second place, teammates 1 and 2 here at Circuit of the Americas here in Texas.
Yep, gonna have to go out and find some 8-ball whiskey now.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. And gonna kick it down the road a piece here. Kyle, you've caught up with third place, Ed Boyles Jr.
Indeed, Ed Boyles Jr., a third place run here tonight, starting to show some strength as we close off this regular season. Ed, the interval says 1 minute and 12 seconds back to the lead, but still a third place run, nothing at all to shake your head about. What was this event like for you and your 88 team tonight?
Oh, this event was a lot of fun. I made a couple mistakes right there at the beginning. I downshifted and wheel hopped it going into what turn we call the tombstone turn. I think it's like 16 or so, and spun her out right at the beginning. And then the next lap, spun it out again, trying to, avoid hitting a teammate. So, but all in all, I drove back through the field there from like 14th. That was a blast, just coming from the back to the front. Actually, it was pretty fun to have like an objective, to so to say.
We know that this is such a difficult racetrack to master in any car, let alone these cup cars. What were some of the biggest things that you struggled with tonight in learning this racetrack and just to keep the thing pointed in the right direction and be competitive?
The biggest thing overall was to not overdrive the turns. Make sure you hit your braking points. The one thing I noticed about this track is it doesn't have any braking markers where it counts down, like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I had to find spots on the track and continue, like repetitively, know to stop and start my braking zones and stuff because, I'm used to seeing those, braking markers, and I didn't really see any here. That'd be a good ad for this track. But just a lot of track time. I mean, I think we've run 300 laps. Team Hendrick here in the last couple days is practicing. We did some bunch of open practice with some guys. It was really hard to learn.
We take the week off next week, and then we go to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. 2 races left in this regular season before we get the playoffs fired up. You are 4th place in points with 1 victory that you have. Looks like you're going to go with 16 playoff points at the moment. What's going to be on the agenda for the 88 team for these final 2 races to try to set yourself up for the playoffs?
I'd like to get another win. I'd really like to have 2 to match the other guys that are in there. I think the most victories right now is 2 by Tim and Caleb and maybe one other person, just so we're not starting out behind. But we'll have a little bit of advantage and just go out there and I'm always a connoisseur of lead every lap I can. That's another top 5 is my 4th top 5 in 4 weeks. So we'll just keep that string alive.
Things definitely starting to come together at the right time for you. Who would you like to thank for another podium run tonight?
Well, of course, I'd like to shout out my car sponsor, FATHEADZ Eyewear. And as always, 40% off with the coupon code SHOWTIME. Just go ahead and check out that at fatheadseyewear.com. I'd like to thank SimNut Racing Sims, Butt Kicker. We got Budget Sim Boxes, Harpoon Designs. I'd like to thank my wife for, as always, dealing with me, spending time on here, and my teammates for, putting in the time and effort and racing around each other so we're used to being next to each other. And also a big thank you to Vidane TV. The broadcast is always good. I'm sure you guys I was hoping you guys wouldn't have a challenge tonight with no cautions, just to bunch the cars back up and that it would still an exciting race for you guys and our viewers.
it was an entertaining one to watch, and glad to see you continue the successful run that you have had in this series. Third place tonight in the Texas Twister 100, Ed Boyles Jr. The momentum continues for the 88 team for Hendrick Motorsports, and they will go into this off weekend with a lot of positivity and a lot of smiles. Paul, a very interesting race to say the least tonight, our first here at Circuit of the Americas. Taking a look at the point standings as they are updated now, it just continues to get exciting as we get ready to start the playoffs here in a few weeks. The cut line has changed. We have a tie for the final two positions in. David Douthwaite and Colin Zemer are actually tied right now for position 14 in the points. But it counts as the final cut-off spot since Kenny Capola is still on the outside of 16. And then you look on the outside of the cut line. John Tuddy falls out. He is now 6 points out. Ian Yeager is just 1 point behind John Tuddy. He is 7 points out of the playoffs right now. The win actually puts Kenny Capola kind of back into the points mix, so I guess I'm proven wrong there. He could have had an opportunity to battle for a playoff spot on points. But what it does do also is it ties him into points with Charles Stevens. So Charles Stevens is 9 points out of the cut line. So you got three drivers right there within 10 points of the playoffs. A week off to kind of reset and to get things ready for that 150 lapper at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It just keeps getting better. We're starting to see some new guys go to victory lane. It's having an impact on the playoff picture, and things are really going to get exciting for these final two races of the regular season.
Most definitely, and you've got such a tight points battle for these guys trying to get themselves locked into the playoffs, and you've got two racetracks coming up that are completely different. Off next week, but the week after that we're going to, like you made mention, Charlotte Motor Speedway, 1.5 mile cookie cutter track, intermediate track, very fast racetrack here, especially with these Cup cars. And then the week after that we're going to Watkins Glen road course. So lots of different strategies that they're going to play out over the next 3 weeks here. These guys here in the Fatheads Cup Series have next week off to kind of do a little bit of practice. I imagine there'll be some practice races going on. And it just, like you said, Kenny Capola logging 500 laps here in the past week. That's astounding. That is dedication right there, and it definitely paid off in spades here at the Circuit of the Americas here in Texas. But a great race here for the Texas Twister 100 here. Just taking a quick peek at the upcoming schedule here for the Verdane TV. Tomorrow night, we made mention the NEP Series, the Grand National Series, brought to you by Shift Marketing and Design. Championship night, crowning that champion, Johnny Two Belts, John Peters, pretty much locking in the championship by showing up to the track tomorrow night. Going to be running the Shift Marketing and Design 100 at Dover International Speedway. That's going to be a good race. Always good to see those guys, and we did lock those guys down for season number 3. They're going to be coming back in October, and they're going to be running the Xfinity cars here in the iRacing simulation on Thursday night. So excited to have those cats back here racing with us, and we've got the Endurance Series coming up here in a couple weeks. Kyle, you and I are running the Verdane TV Kong Beer Bong number 94 BMW in that series, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I hope to not damage the car too bad before you get in there, but we'll see what happens. We can see Sim Racing Unleashed. They come back here Sunday night, 9 o'clock, and then we start the week all over again. Doubleheader Monday night, Tim's Corner Live, podcast over on Tim's Corner Motorsports Facebook page, Sim 500 Trans Service Cup Series on Monday night at 9:15, and then right back here Wednesday night. No Fatheads Cup Series Wednesday night, but a doubleheader for Tim's Corner Motorsports. Going to be running 275 lappers at Nashville Fairgrounds next Wednesday night. Little St. Patty's Day double, so that'll be very exciting. But that's going to wrap things up here for the Fatheads Cup Series here on Verdane TV. Be sure to swing over to fatheads.com, fatheads with a Z. Use that promo code SHOWTIME. Get you 40% off some sweet-looking sunglasses. And, man, I made mention, I gotta get myself some of those transparent or translucent lenses, because I already got the one day that it's nice out. I've already got that raccoon sunburn, so I'm going to be hooking myself up with some Fatheads gear here very, very soon. But that's going to do it here for Verdane TV. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on Facebook, on YouTube, all the different social media outlets. Be sure to tell your friends with a like and a share and a subscribe, all that stuff. It helps us out in a big way. And if you've got a spare moment, head on over to Verdane.shop, pick yourself up a hat or a t-shirt, and show your support. Let your friends know you watch this thing called iRacing right here on Verdane TV. But we'll catch you guys on the flip side when we do. We're going to be doing it live. Have yourselves a fantastic night.